The Protoevangelium, a deep dive into Genesis 3:15. Welcome to another episode of Faith Focus, where we explore the profound and often complex intersections of theology, scripture, and life. Today we're diving deep into a verse that holds monumental significance in Christian theology, Genesis 3:15. This verse, often referred to as the Protoevangelium or First Gospel, is seen as the initial hint of God's redemptive plan for humanity. We'll unpack its layers, historical context, theological implications, and its enduring impact on the Christian faith. So let's understand Genesis 3:15. We'll revisit the verse. "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." So that's Genesis 3:15. This passage comes at a pivotal moment in the Bible, right after Adam and Eve had eaten the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, defying God's command. So as a result, God pronounces judgment on the serpent, Eve and Adam. So Genesis 3:15 is part of God's pronouncement to that serpent. So the serpent in many ancient Near Eastern cultures symbolized chaos, evil, and opposition to divine order. In Genesis, the serpent embodies those themes, leading humanity astray from God's intended path. Now, the original Hebrew text uses the word zerah for offspring. This can be interpreted as seed. This term has both immediate and future connotations, referring not only to Eve's direct descendants, but also to a future individual who would deliver a fatal blow to evil. The verse establishes a perpetual conflict between the serpent and the woman, extending to their respective offspring. This enmity represents the broader spiritual battle between good and evil, a theme that runs throughout the Bible and, frankly, throughout the world today. Christian tradition has long interpreted Genesis 3:15 as the first messianic prophecy. The offspring of the woman is seen as a reference to Jesus Christ. Early church fathers such as Irenaeus and Augustine viewed this verse as a foreshadowing of Christ's victory over Satan. Let's look at the line, "He will crush your head." The crushing of the serpent's head symbolizes a decisive victory. In Christian theology, this victory is realized through Jesus' death and resurrection, which defeats sin and death. This profound symbology has since permeated Catholic-inspired art ever since, and you see it today in statues and other artistic depictions of Our Lady or of St. Michael the Archangel. You'll often see a serpent crushed underfoot, so that's where that visualization came from. Now, what about the part where it says, "You will strike his heel"? Now, this phrase acknowledges that the serpent will inflict harm. Many theologians interpret this as the suffering and crucifixion of Jesus. Although it was a grievous wound, it was not fatal to God's plan, unlike the crushing of the serpent's head, which signifies ultimate defeat. When I look at this compared to real life, I notice that no matter how big a mess a person makes up of their life, or how bad a situation might be, when they give their life to the Lord, it's not uncommon to see the worst part of someone's experience be transformed into a new purpose. So yeah, evil may and does sometimes inflict harm, but that is always redeemed and is restored through Christ. Now, the early Christians saw Genesis 3:15 as a cornerstone of their faith. Irenaeus, in his work against heresies, explicitly linked this prophecy to Jesus, emphasizing that Christ, born of a woman, fulfilled this divine promise by overcoming Satan. Now, during the medieval period, theologians like Thomas Aquinas reinforced the view that Genesis 3:15 was the foundation of the promise of salvation. They saw it as a clear indication of God's plan to redeem humanity through Christ. Now, the reformers, including Martin Luther and John Calvin, upheld this messianic interpretation of Genesis 3:15. They emphasized that the victory over sin and death promised in this verse was fully realized in Jesus' atoning work on the cross. While modern scholars acknowledge the traditional messianic interpretation, they also explore other dimensions of the text. Some suggest that it serves as a broader allegory for the human condition, reflecting the ongoing struggle between human beings and the forces of evil. Now, different Christian traditions bring unique perspectives to this verse. So, for example, Catholic theology often emphasizes the role of Mary as the new Eve, who plays a crucial part in the fulfillment of Genesis 3:15. Protestant theology, however, while focusing on Jesus as a fulfillment, may also highlight the communal aspects of the church role in combating evil. Genesis 3:15 invites Christians to reflect on the reality of spiritual warfare, whether you're a Catholic or a Protestant. It encourages believers to recognize the ongoing battle between evil in their own personal lives and in the world, and a reminder to rely on Christ's victory as their source of strength. This verse is a profound source of hope, illustrating God's immediate response to human sin with a promise of redemption. It reassures believers that despite the presence of evil, God's ultimate plan is one of restoration and victory. The best line I ever heard was, "This isn't a rescue mission, we're in a cleanup operation." The church is called to be an active participant in this divine narrative, striving to embody the victory over sin and evil through its mission and ministry. Genesis 3:15, the Protoevangelium, is a deep well of theological insight and inspiration. It sets the stage for the entire biblical narrative of redemption, pointing forward to the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. As we reflect on this verse, we are reminded of the persistent presence of God's grace and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. It is a testament to the profound hope and purpose that lies at the heart of the Christian faith. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Genesis 3:15. We hope it's enriched your understanding and inspired your faith journey. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to explore the depths of Scripture and its relevance to our lives today. Please feel free to leave a comment. It really helps us when you do. And if you have any questions or other topics you'd like to see me cover, please leave those in the comments as well, and I'll be happy to cover them for you. Keep your faith alive. You've reached Faith Focus Podcast. My name is Daniela Bizant, your host. Thanks for joining us today.